Good up.
This is Channel 253.
On this episode of the Grit and Grain podcast.
You know, just like most news, there's different ways to take it. For me, I just think it's kind of a right sizing of the industry as a whole.
Exactly. That's 100%.
Yeah.
I 100% agree.
And now I'll stop talking because that might be the smartest thing I'll say.
No, dude,
Matt's you've been saying this for a while, though.
Channel 253 is member supported. I'm producer Doug Mackey, and I hope you will show your support by going to channel253.com/membership and join. Thank you.
Welcome to the Grit and Grain podcast, where we explore and celebrate the craft beer industry, community, and history in Tacoma, Washington, and surrounding Pacific Northwest areas. Thank you so much for hanging out. Let's get to it. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Grit and Grain podcast, coming to you guys from Peaks and Pints in Tacoma, Washington. Woo, yay, Ron. My name is Matt McLaren. I'm here as always with Ron Swarner.
Hello.
How's it going, Ron?
It's going really great.
Good. Good week so far?
Yeah.
Good.
Inventories.
January, people are drinking.
Dude,
People are drinking in January.
they kind of are, right?
Yeah.
I don't feel as slow as I did last year.
Yep.
Everybody, last year, everybody was joking about damp January, but I don't know, it feels damper this year.
Very moist.
Yeah.
And here we go.
Downright moist January. Oh, I hate this already. Bethany, how are you?
I am great. How are you guys?
Very good.
Happy to be here.
Good. Me too. Are you drinking? You're drinking
I got
hot water.
a
Fruit Loop.
and I have a beer.
Fruit Loop is such good branding for a hot water.
Yeah.
It's so good.
Fucking Fort George.
It's damn tasty.
It's really good. Yeah.
Phaedra's on mic. How's it going, Phaedra?
Good. How are you?
Very good.
Nice.
Thanks for tuning in. We have a return guest today who actually we've talked to plenty of times. But our buddy RJ is sitting down today. How's it going, RJ?
Thanks for having me again.
Yeah,
I'm doing
of course.
good. Good to see everybody's smiling faces.
Yeah, man.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks for rolling through.
I have a question. You know how Saturday Night Live has the jackets after 5 year? Do we have to come up with a jacket
I think
on his next
For
visit?
RJ.
Probably.
Yeah, we kind of brought this up last time I was here. I mean, I definitely do want some sort of prize.
Yeah.
It doesn't necessarily
Let that be clear.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely should get something. I just want to lay the groundwork. It doesn't have to be exactly like the 5-timers jacket or anything like that. You know, I'm probably, I think I mentioned before I would settle for a sash.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
How about
Yeah.
a pair of socks?
How about a t-shirt?
Which, yeah,
Fanny pack?
Honestly, I'd go for the socks more than anything. A fanny pack, sure.
How about
Yeah,
a
listen, it's-
tiara?
Full of socks.
Yeah, I'm not the creative guy. You know, I'll let you guys figure it out. Just don't disappoint me next time I'm on.
Noted.
This
And
is
that's why we have RJ.
RJ's last episode.
Yeah, exactly. And he was never heard from again.
Yeah.
No, I'm excited to be here, guys.
Thanks, dude.
I never not want to talk to all of you.
Well, we never not want to have a beer with you.
Yeah,
So
well,
it's perfect.
thank you.
I'm RJ's rolling through because he's been in this industry for a very long time, actually in multiple roles and on multiple sides of this industry. And there's been a lot of crazy publications coming out with all kinds of big beer news that people have been commenting on for the past couple of weeks. And actually, thanks to Doug's suggestion, we were like, hey, why don't we just kind of address some of this stuff and do a little state of the industry episode. RJ, more than anybody, sends me articles all the time about what's going on in the national beer industry. And it's interesting every time. And I quoted the retreating of the elephants last time. And that was one of my favorite things that you've sent me.
Oh, sure.
Was,
Yeah.
big brands kind of getting out of this segment and what that means for the entire industry, which is so interesting.
Right.
But yeah, so big Vice article about why craft beer isn't as popular. Tons of news about how there's, for the first time in decades, I think, more breweries closed than opened for an entire year. Not by much, but it was like, a negative ratio for 2024. And then the Surgeon General's warning about printing craft beers carcinogenic or alcohols, cancer-causing, risks, printing that on labels and making the public more aware of that kind of stuff. All sorts of it all sounds grim and funky, but there's pretty valid pushbacks, I would say, from inside and outside the industry. And so we wanted to do an episode that kind of provided context. If you guys are seeing articles like that and you're not really hearing both sides, it might be good just to hear what people, in the industry, how they feel about it. And then also there's tons of comments on all of those posts. So I want to go through and anonymously read some of the takes that come through on that. Yeah.
Oh, I love the comment section. I try and avoid it, but if somebody else wants to read it, I'll pick and choose stuff.
There's wild takes, man. And that, so this, Doug and I were talking about this, and it's he tagged me on the Vice one in particular because it was dude, these comments are crazy. And what's interesting though is that some of the wildest takes get the most positive response from people who are obviously reading through comments. And it's this sentiment sounds crazy to me, and maybe to all of you too who are in the industry, but it must not be that weird if 1,000 or 10,000 people are no, I totally agree with this. So yeah, I wanted to address some of that too. We're a tiny little local beer podcast, so we're not going to change Vice's opinion on any of this shit. However, if you listen, hopefully it'll give you some extra context.
Well, before we dive into the nitty gritty of all of these articles that came out, I kind of want to go back to what we were talking about before with regards to a moist January.
Yes, let's talk more about that.
Because I know a lot of people are participating in it. I mean, I can count. I need more fingers than I have in order to count just all the people very close to me that are doing dry January.
Yeah.
And, especially working in the industry, we all kind of take pauses, kind of reassess our relationships with it and that sort of thing. Mm-hmm. But I'm curious, just as especially with you and with Bethany, because we're out talking to all of these other businesses out here. It definitely is, it's been a wide scale about whether or not, certain businesses are affected in January versus others. Mm-hmm. And I'm just kind of curious to hear your guys' take, just kind of in an overall, big 10,000 foot view. What are you seeing when you go out there? Are people complaining that they can't get butts in the seats? Are they saying it's not as bad as they expected? I mean, what have you guys heard?
I had a conversation with a bar owner, and he said it's not as bad this year as it has been. So, and I don't always talk to the owners when I go in and clean, clean the draft line. So yeah, I don't have a good feel on that, but I know it's definitely slow, like always.
I would say the sentiment that it's not quite as bad as it has been previously seems to be pretty consistent across my experience.
Yeah.
And I don't see as many accounts as I used to either, but I can see it in my company's numbers. We're sending out a little bit more beer than we did around this time January last year, which is good. We're also sending out more NA stuff though than we did this time last year. So that's kind of funny, as you would expect them to be a little bit flip-flopped, at least to some degree. But they're both up a little bit so far. So I don't know if that you seem to be as busy as ever.
Last weekend we did November numbers.
Wow.
That's fucking bananas.
Awesome. Yeah.
Congratulations.
You also have so much NA options too. You have so many NA.
And people are definitely drinking it.
Yeah.
I stocked up and I'm constantly stocking it, but people are also drinking beer.
That's good. So that's good. And that seems to be consistent. But it also could be location specific. I've been into a couple of places, a couple of, local businesses that are dead at unusual times that where if I was there in November, it wouldn't be as dead at that time during the day. So that's still happening a little bit for sure. But I think overall, there seems to just be more people partaking.
Yeah, we're smack dab in the middle of a neighborhood, and I'm pushing the hell out of it. So,
yeah, true. Definitely not everybody is as proactive as you are with regards to getting more butts in the seats, and I think you're uniquely positioned to have so many options, and even if people are sort of dabbling in non-alc options, they still have a place to go. You serve kind of as a community hub
for sure.
That some other places, more traditional bars and restaurants, may not have that same thing where people are tightening their belts and not trying to eat out like they're at home a lot more.
Right.
So you're kind of the perfect spot for people who get sick of like looking at their own four walls to like get out and not necessarily still feel so pressured to like have a beer and a shot or spend close to $100 on a meal if there's like 2 or 3 people.
Yeah, we're also a sandwich shop.
Exactly.
So people come for food.
Yeah.
Oh, word.
Yeah.
There's other factors like you were mentioning it, RJ. It's dark a lot. It's cold. People, spent everything that they had for the holidays, and so it's just naturally, I think it's gonna be a downturn. I know during the week, for us during the day, it's been pretty slow, but overall, I mean, still at nighttime for sure. It's popping and everything like that.
That's great.
So yeah,
That's nice. It's funny because I think there's there's like 2 lanes of sort of like concerted effort when it comes to something like dry January, where there's, and this is kind of like the jokes where people were talking about like damp January last year, where it's like, I'm going to, instead of like taking a whole month off and then like increasing the frequency of my consumption for the rest of the year, I'm just going to like level out my level of consumption across all 12 months and just be more kind of mindful about, how many drinks I have per week or per day or whatever. So that could be a part of it too, is like more people are kind of finding that sort of balance. I'm like an advocate for that sort of thing, is like healthy consumption throughout the year and, avoiding like binging and stuff like that. But that's also because I am just fucking prone to binging on things. And,
there's a lot more people who are adopting sort of like, I don't know what the industry term is for this, but like hybrid drinkers. Somebody who like, I'll have a beer or I'll have a hop water after that.
Yep.
Or I'll have an NA beer after that. It's not just like, 3 or 4 pints in a row. Mm-hmm. They'll kind of like slow things down. You're still at, wherever you're at for the same period of time that you would be, but you're not going to get buzzed because you're kind of pacing yourself.
Totally.
That's absolutely correct.
Yeah.
Yeah. Bethany being the prime example right now.
For example,
Such a
hot
good
water and a stoop.
Yeah, what stoop is that?
It's called Go Into the Light, Carol Ann.
Oh,
Poltergeist.
That's a great fucking beer name.
Oh wow, the label's so cool. I don't know
good.
if people can't see it, it's basically a what is that? The Ring?
Poltergeist?
There's like
it's
Poltergeist.
it's Poltergeist. It is Poltergeist.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's the girl
it's just a
in
little
Poltergeist.
girl with her
Nice.
hands on static. Yeah, that's really cool.
So good.
I love it.
Ron, what are you drinking, man? I didn't ask
I'm
you.
drinking the Urban Roots 10 degrees Pilsner.
Sick.
Yeah.
Awesome
it was
to see Urban
brewed to
Roots
be a
up here.
side pull, so
Yeah.
it fits
Oh,
perfect
nice.
there.
it's really
I'm gonna
dark
have to
for a
try that.
Pilsner,
Yeah.
but that's the other beer.
Urban Roots is fucking awesome. They make great beer.
Whereabouts are they
In
at?
California.
Okay.
Yeah. They make awesome.
Just the whole state.
The whole state. They're
Yeah,
from
not
the whole
a
state.
not a specific
Like
part
the
of
middle.
I would always make the joke. It's somewhere between
I fucking hate this guy.
somewhere between Oregon and Mexico. Yeah, got it. Okay. Cool.
What do you mean brewed to be a side pull? What did they do differently in the
That's
brew?
what they said in their marketing.
Okay.
So I believed it.
Oh, okay.
I love buyers like you, Ron. Holy
Okay. I have
Well,
to
fuck, I have to have it. I have
I
a side
have a
pull.
side pull. I have to have it.
Holy shit. What's your dark thing there, though?
Structures Yulebach.
Oh, word.
Oh, ditto.
Nice.
I grabbed a pour of
it's
the
good.
Veil because it's amazing to see the Veil on tap in fucking Washington.
So exciting to see a draft of that hit the state.
pretty insane.
Low ABV, too.
It's fucking great. It smells like a fresh hop. It's like so aromatic.
Yeah.
Oh man, I've got so many beers to try now.
I know. Too bad you have to pace yourself with a Fruit Loop next time. What are you drinking?
So I started with a non-alc beer.
Oh,
Ooh.
Yeah, it's from a small little upstart called Sierra Nevada.
Oh man, I've heard of those guys.
It's the Trail Pass IPA. Honestly, like even if I did not work for them, it's still like tastes like a regular IPA. I mean, it would be a go-to for me. It's
Totally.
just like really clear, just super easy drinking, kind of like scratches that itch for something hoppy.
Word.
So
Cool.
Actually, I think when Shauna and Jess were on here, Jess was pre-baby. Oh yeah. Fist the mic. Yeah, she was. So she was drinking non-alcoholic stuff, and I think she had a Trail Pass when we were. And she's like, it's the closest thing outside of maybe like an athletic IPA.
Yeah.
It's the closest thing that
I,
I've had so far.
I know we weren't the first to market with a non-alc, but I think we're probably some of the best.
Yeah.
I have just a mental hurdle to get over non-alcoholic beers because like the good ones have only been around for so long. So when I think non-alcohol beer, I'm like, ugh, it's gonna be like sweet and gross and like malty. And there's such good ones out there. It's just like pour it in the glass and you won't be disappointed. But like for me, I have like this mental hurdle of like I don't want a non-alcoholic beer, but then you do when it's like there's really good ones.
The old kinds that they like tried to make non-alc like something beyond Sharps and O'Doul's and all of that. They just reminded me so much of extract brews.
Syrup.
Somebody's
carbonated.
very first like extract homebrew.
And
they
bitter.
bought a kit or something.
Yeah, and
like
it
that.
never fermented. It's just under attenuated.
Do you hear Athletic bought Ballast Point's giant plant in San Diego?
Oh, that
Holy
doesn't.
fuck.
Yeah, that doesn't surprise
I did not
me.
know that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Jesus Christ.
No.
Good for them.
Yeah.
They have a shitload of money.
Yeah.
And that's probably what
It's
that's
that VC money.
That's crazy. Fuck, dude, speaking of breweries buying other production facilities, I think it came out that Stemma purchased Twin Sisters' old production facility in Bellingham. Is that right?
Yep.
Okay.
Oh, that's awesome.
So I had just
Good
heard
for them.
this. Yeah. I had heard like rumblings of this early on and I was like, I don't know. And then I like saw something. I want to say
Speaking of giant,
I
that
do.
place is huge.
it must be like millions of dollars.
Yeah,
Like
it has
it's
to be.
enormous. And I love seeing a brewery that's as good as Stemma going into a place like that because it just means everybody's gonna have more access to their beer. But that's like a crazy big jump. Also, like, I don't know, considering that this episode is about the state of the industry where like a lot of people think negative stuff is going on, it's pretty fucking rad to see a good Bellingham, like a good Washington brewery getting into a new, bigger space because there's that demand for their beer.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I feel like
suck it, naysayers.
Yeah. I feel like there's a lot about the closures. There's a lot of ink spilled about.
There's a lot of them.
Yeah, there absolutely is a lot of them, but the expansions and new locations and all
openings.
of these openings that are happening don't get touted as much as the closures because I feel like the closures sort of lend to a narrative that the sky is falling, and I think. Just like most news, there's different ways to take it. For me, I just think it's kind of a right sizing of the industry as a whole.
Exactly. That's 100%.
Yeah.
I 100% agree.
And now I'll stop talking because that might be
well,
the
it happens
smartest
like
thing I'll say.
No, dude,
Matt's you've been saying this for a while, though.
yeah, for
You
sure.
have
We've
been
like
saying-
talked about it before.
yeah.
We've never. I don't know if we've ever done like a whole episode kind of
Right.
dedicated to this sort of like press, but like there's been a lot of media coverage about what the industry's going through. I believe the new director of the Brewers Association was the chief economist
was
who
Bart.
kind of Bart,
Yeah.
who he was the chief economist and was doing a fantastic talking tour about what's going on in the industry, and that was kind of his take as well. Is like, you can't have a gold rush for a half of a century without some sort of balance happening, and the beer world is funny because like our gold rush ran through like two separate like major recessions basically, and then like 2000 between like 2010 to like 2000, I mean I guess 2020 probably, there was such a fucking crazy influx. People were talking about the bubble popping in 2013 because there was so much for just from 2010 to 2013. I've probably mentioned it before, but there's a famous old video of John Kimmick talking about how he makes Hetty's Hopper to like a fucking homebrew club. I've watched this video like 1,000 times.
You fall asleep to it, right?
I do. It's so good.
Yeah, you just put it on. You're like, it's not-
Even that motherfucker is like, no, the bubble's gonna pop any day now. And then like 9 years later, there was 8,000 more breweries than there was that day.
yeah.
I think Bart said it's still low compared to the hospitality sector at
It is
large.
still low. That's another thing is that like even the deflation is still not happening at a pace that you're seeing in other industries, which is interesting. And like, so yeah, I think that the official number was like 399 closures last year. but the number of
Nationwide.
openings nationwide,
Yeah.
the number of openings, I believe, was like 335.
Correct.
So like you were not that far. We're not that far apart. Like that's a pretty fucking close ratio. And I actually don't even know if that number includes like so expansions to new locations, which is happening, right? Like Single Hill opened up Ballard last year.
Right.
I don't even know if that counts, but that's still an additional business, for a brewery. Stemma purchasing a new production facility. Fuck, Ron and I got some little insider news about somebody else opening up an expanded location here pretty soon. Which I know we can't. I know. Sorry guys.
Can't talk
You guys
about
fucking
it.
suck.
I want to hear who it is off mic.
Yeah,
I'll tell you.
you tell us later.
That's the name of their flagship beer. So like there's additional businesses opening for sure. So the ratio isn't that far off. The deflation rate is not really. It's not as drastic as it is in like other hospitality categories. So like those are two really positive things. When you see something like the Vice article that we were talking about, where it's like why craft beer just isn't as popular as it used to be. I should also point out that there are really valid points in that article. It's
absolutely.
mostly just
Yeah.
the comments of people who are like, just fucking.
Yeah,
Somebody said that 60% of all craft beer is owned by like the big guys. Like they were like 60%. And I was like, you think that 60% of like all small breweries are owned?
Where did they pull that number from?
So here's like
of
I
their
feel
ass.
silly for
yeah.
I feel silly for making fun of it because the thing is that that exists in wine and it also exists in spirits. Like that type of consolidation is 100% like feasible if you don't get the difference between these different like channels of this industry.
Right.
In the spirits world, like 3 or 4 different businesses own 90% of all spirits.
Yeah.
There are small distilleries, but it makes up for like less than 5% of the actual business. So when you take that and you're like, well, craft beer is probably similar because they're like both alcohol. Like I could see the like train of thought, but it's just not the case.
It might depend on where they're located too.
That's true.
There's
too.
got to be, somebody who's like, that island that's out in the middle of the ocean that like if somebody's on there, they're actually closer to the people in the International Space Station than they are to anybody else on Earth. Like there's got to be some
That's totally where the guy was
geographical
from.
space in the United States. No, not in that island specifically, but there's got to be some place in the geographical like United States, probably within a dry county, where like the only craft beer within 10 miles of them is probably just big.
It's just space dust.
It's probably just craft Budweiser or craft, like
Totally.
That's fair.
And we've talked about that.
Yeah.
Just
listen
small
to me
business
giving them the
opening up.
benefit
I
of
was
the
going to say,
doubt.
we don't need to defend
This
this person.
random, this random internet commenter.
You're probably right.
No, never mind. Fuck that guy. I don't know.
You're weird and have bad opinions.
Your opinions are bad and you should feel bad.
Although today, most everyone lives within 10 miles of a brewery.
That's true, actually. It's such an interesting fact.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Almost everybody in the U.S. like
Except for that one comment.
except for one guy, just
one
fucking
guy.
staring through the glass.
Sitting in
Form
a
an
cabin in
opinion.
the middle of the woods.
Yeah.
He said, I don't even know how I get internet.
doing
so
Yelp
long-
reviews for places he's never been to.
And so lonely, too.
Hey, speaking of lonely,
Yeah.
Oh man.
I know. No, so yeah, like I get the point of all that goofy shit is like, the kind of I guess negative hype around some of this stuff isn't totally as founded as you'd think it is. I don't know. Like we've mentioned like Beer Aficionados TikTok on here before. Love that guy's content. Hopefully it exists after like Monday.
Right.
I'm sure he'll make it on other platforms, but works for a big brewery himself, does really cool insider stuff, but also has like really good takes on a lot of this. And there's like one of the main reasons why people were like, in the comments for that Vice article in particular, when people are like, I don't go to craft breweries anymore because of A, B, and C. Like the number one answer is because they allow kids. And he was like, his take on this is like a take that I agree with. We were just talking about this is like there's tons of content, especially on TikTok, about like people complaining when kids are allowed in places where you can drink alcohol. And I'm like, that's like, I have a kid who wouldn't mind being around like brewery. I don't take him a lot, but like we go hang out at Seven Seas. We were just talking about like how Seven Seas is like a really great, spacious kind of community spot. They have good food. They do events there that are like usually kid friendly. We do one of the most popular Tacoma Beer Week events last year was the Heidelberg Derby at Seven Seas, and kids were allowed to go and compete, and it was super fun.
Yeah, they're doing everything right.
They're doing
for a
everything
brewery
right
to survive.
Right. And like to me, that's like and his and Beer Aficionado's kind of take on this too was like, it's probably because you're conflating the idea that like a brewery is a bar versus a brewery is like a community gathering space. So like Seven Seas, I think, is a great example of that. But there's plenty of breweries that are also 21 and over, which is totally fine. But if you're not, like, that's probably okay. And I
don't think it should just be one way or the other. It shouldn't just be,
No.
Like, and I know that there's lots of places that will maybe have no kids after a certain period, like after a certain hour of the day, right?
Right.
And to Ron's point, what he's saying, like everybody's within 10 miles of a brewery, there's usually more than one, and there's options, even here in Tacoma. It's like, I don't have kids. I don't particularly enjoy being around them. That makes
Neither
me
does my kid.
Yeah, that's fine. I mean, it makes me a bad guy.
Breaking.
I don't know.
Breaking news.
Yeah, but there's definitely places that I will choose to go strictly because of that. I was up in Columbia City this weekend with a friend, and I made a point to go to Third Place Books / Chuck's Hop Shop. Because I had never been there before. I'd been to Third Place Books prior to Chuck's moving in.
Yeah.
And I was like, definitely want to go check it out.
Totally.
And there were, I'm not exaggerating, there were 8 concurrent children's birthday parties there. And so like
a little bit of a nightmare.
we go downstairs and my friend who is with me is also childless, and we kind of just get these really big eyes like, oh no. Do we turn around and leave? Do we commit?
Yeah.
I got one beer. I grabbed a 6-pack to picked a few cans that I haven't seen and grabbed and went. I probably would have stuck around for one more if it wasn't so chaotic. Mm-hmm. But that's okay. That's my choice. I shouldn't dictate what Chuck's Hop Shop, what is it? Seward Park?
Seward Park.
Yeah.
Okay. Does. That's their choice. And obviously, I mean, they're not going to be hurting if the two of us left after one beer instead of two.
Right.
They're doing okay.
Right.
So-
Unless you take the blindfold and the donkey tail with you.
So wait, Matt, say that again. So the number one reason why people don't like craft beer or going to breweries.
The number one, like, the number one reason that people cited for like why breweries are closing, and there's a ton of them, but like the thing that came up probably the most often, and there's like a whole lane of like TikTok content, for instance, about people complaining about this, is kids being allowed at breweries or kids being allowed at places where you might drink alcohol, and like it's not like that's understandable. I've been at plenty of breweries that allow kids, and the kids are running around and being crazy, and it's whatever. But there's also plenty of bars that I could go to if I didn't want to be around kids, and I could just go drink that same brewery's beer there, and that's fine too. But I like the idea that you could treat a brewery as more of like a community gathering spot versus just a place where you're going to tie one on like after work or whatever. Like these guys do painting events. They do like chalk art things for kids. They do and they have, there's also some breweries that get this wrong too. So like we bring up Seven Seas because they do a good job at this. There are for sure some breweries that do this wrong. And actually it leads to another funny statistic. I was talking to Shane at E9 this morning actually. And he was like, I actually just read a thing about like the reason why like new legal age drinking people, 22, 23-year-olds don't want to go to breweries is because that's where their parents took them to do shit when they were like 10 or 11.
Oh, interesting.
And they were like, I don't want to fucking do that.
Yeah, where they're bored as fuck.
I know.
Why do I want to go to that place where I was so bored as a kid?
Where my fucking dad ignored me for 3 hours while I played with a broken Etch-a-Sketch in the corner.
They're traumatized.
The minute he said that, I like had had this whoosh of like trauma that I know exists. Is like, for sure you spent years of your life trying to get your parents' attention in a brewery that they brought you to against your will, so you could eat fucking hard cheese curds when they were finished with them.
That is such an interesting perspective.
No one likes to do the same drugs as their parents did.
Oh my God, that's so true.
Exactly it.
Well, also, I think not having kids allowed in places where you can drink is kind of an American thing, as far as I know. Like other countries you bring your kid, you bring your baby in tow everywhere you go, including bars, even the dive bars and stuff. So
some kids bring the parents.
You know who actually brought that up? That exact point is, so we were brewing a collab beer with Jan Parker, fantastic local chef. She spent time in Germany, and she was like, it's so normalized in Germany that it just doesn't feel unusual when you see kids at a place like that. And it's like that in France too. If you go to a winery, there's kids, you know.
My brother-in-law, he's French, and when he comes, he's like, it blows my mind. We have to like pick where we're going because we have to bring your kids. Like that doesn't make sense.
But her and I kind of talked about it, and they were there. I think there is you could probably look it up, but I think that there is like a dynamic that exists where if you normalize that sort of thing younger and it becomes less of a taboo, I feel like it makes sense that it would be more likely that maybe that kid has a healthier relationship with something like alcohol when they're older. Like, it's not that weird. I grew up in a brewery myself. Like, it was my first job. I was around beer all the time when I was younger, and I for sure consumed it illegally, which you shouldn't do. But like, I also, I feel like I have a relatively healthy relationship with it. Obviously, that's, there's plenty of people that's out of reach, and that's fine. And, it's different for everyone. But I feel like if it was more normalized, like it might be in other countries like that, it might be easier. It might be easier to like, transition to like healthy consumption as an adult.
Well, if it's not forbidden, right? So, because when you're always trying to sneak it from your parents, and behind their backs, and because you're not supposed to have it, What is it? What is it? Yeah. And
that sets you up
then when you have access to it, it's kind of like, it's
right.
But it also varies state by state
for
too.
sure.
I know, like in Texas, like your kid can sit at the bar. As long as
I've
the
seen that.
There.
It's kind of unnerving when you're not used to it.
It's like,
you're
even
like, what
in the
is
same
this 6-year-old doing here? Yeah.
It's wild. That's the state that's trying to ban Pornhub.
I think, it's weird seeing your kid sitting there. And it's even weirder to just see like a whole line of empty shot glasses in front of the kid.
That's a different conversation.
He's like, here, stack these.
Build a tower.
Play with these.
They take the shot and hand it to the kid.
Okay.
Is it the case that Gen X or Gen Z just thinks alcohol's not cool anymore?
That's a good question. We should answer it when we come back from the break.
Okay.
We're going to grab a new beer. We'll be right back, and we'll answer Ron's question.
This is Citizen Tacoma host Eric Hanberg and Channel 253 co-founder. With me is sound producer Doug, here to ask you to support Channel 253 in this new year. We are independent media. 2025 is going to be a hard year in a variety of ways, but we can keep Tacoma strong by covering the things that you care about.
That's right. Even though nationally things may be difficult, you can have a tangible effect and input on things happening locally, and we'll try to inform you and aid you in that quest.
We want to be responsive to the listeners because we are listener-funded. If you like the things that we talk about, Citizen Tacoma is going to be all in on the mayoral race and all of the other things happening in our city. We have the international angle from Nate and Hope. Please consider giving us your support at channel253.com/membership. $4 a month, $40 a year. Your support makes a real difference.
And those of you who are members already, and that's a number of you, we thank you for your continued support.
Thank you, and we hope to see you on the Slack forums, a special member benefit. Again, channel253.com/membership.
Welcome back, everybody. Thanks for hanging out during the break. As always, a shout out to Doug, our wonderful producer, who makes us sound wonderful every week. And to Chris for putting us on video. Which, if you guys haven't yet, head over to YouTube and hit subscribe. You can pretend like you're hanging out in the bar with us. Just getting trashed.
Can I have that Photoshop filter where I have like cat ears and whiskers? Is that something that you can overlay on the YouTube video?
Probably.
Okay, all right. Well, surprise me. Yeah.
What's that? Oh, are you missing one? And then Phaedra's missing one too,
I got
think.
one. I got mine.
It's me.
Thank
Okay,
you, though.
cool. Yeah, and then you heard about it on the break, but do go check out Channel 253, fantastic network of local podcasts.
And we have a new food podcast coming out.
Oh my God, really?
Yeah, so we'd like to do a thing with maybe the both of us.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
So new food podcast coming
Whoa,
out,
cool.
which is actually rad because there's a lot of exciting food stuff happening in Tacoma right now.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Obviously, Side Piece popping off, Buddy's popping off, and like we just mentioned, Jan Parker, she's opening up hopefully her Hilltop spot here pretty soon. So Tacoma's kind of killing it right now. So a food podcast is amazing. So yeah, go check out Channel 253.
Who's the host?
Evelyn Lopez.
Nice.
Word.
She's going to cover all sorts of stuff, like restaurant openings, things you can cook at home.
Oh, cool.
People who are feeding, people who need food, all sorts of things.
That's,
that's cool.
Man, I'll be
Very
listening to that for sure. Yeah, that's amazing. Sweet. We all have new beers in front of us.
Oh yeah, I need to see the bottle so I can
What
read
is
the
this,
label.
RJ?
Yeah,
Hold, please.
We have a dark beer and like a palish beer.
Yeah. So I pulled something special out of the cellar to share with you guys. This is from 2020 Sierra Nevada Alpha Hop Society release.
Ooh.
This is rum barrel age Wild Little Thing. So Wild Little Thing, unfortunately, may she rest in peace, is not produced regularly by the brewery anymore. It was a strawberry and hibiscus sour ale.
Right.
So what they did is they took that recipe, they kind of like bumped it up, ready to go into barrels. Then they added guava. It's got the hibiscus and the strawberry, mango, pineapple, lactose, vanilla, and coconut, and then rested in rum barrels.
Jesus.
Drop an umbrella in this.
Yeah, it's
This is bottle.
straight up cocktail.
Yeah, this is bottle 274 of 1,500 bottles.
Wow.
Cool.
Right on.
This is
Thank
so
you.
cool.
7.7%. That is all the information I have.
Wait, what was
on
the
label.
percentage? I didn't.
7.7.
Oh, that's
Plenty.
nice. Okay.
Oh, we're all pleasantly surprised.
Yeah.
It's not 15.
Yeah, I
It's a
know.
session barrel aged
right.
beer.
Yeah, that leads me to my next
Speaking
question.
of
What's
that.
this dark thing that's in front of us,
It's
Phaedra?
delicious. That's what
Yeah,
it is.
it's
It
Avery
is
Samuels.
absolutely
Oh, Jesus.
Oh,
delicious.
okay.
I've been
Oak
drinking
age.
it all week long. I mean,
Sam Ales?
it is. Avery is one of my favorite breweries on the planet, and
It's so good.
yeah.
So I don't know. I can't tell you the last time I saw Sam Ales on tap anywhere.
So good.
I also can't tell you the last time I've seen a bottle of it anywhere.
Oh,
This
yeah.
beer
That's
is
true. Yeah.
fucking tremendous.
So good.
Holy
yeah.
cow.
We have Maharaja on too, right?
Yeah.
I saw that today.
Yeah. Yeah.
Man, I've
He
been
has
at
it on
Maharaja
tap right now.
in like 6 years.
I know.
good.
I had like this fucking whoosh flashback to like 8 years ago. Like, that's the best fucking beer anybody makes right now.
Can you probably know this better than anybody, Ron? Is Bell's Hop Slam draft making it out here?
It did.
It did.
Yeah,
Oh,
I've,
cool.
I've already gone through a keg.
Oh,
Yeah.
nice. Very cool. I saw that last year. I mean, like after the merger buyout, I don't know what term we wanted to use for it, but when Bell's started making it out here, all I saw was Two Hearted.
Yeah.
And so all of a sudden I started to see like those 6-packs of Hop Slam and, you know, the brand new to craft beer little kid that lives inside of me that gets excited still about stuff goes, "You've never had Hop Slam." And I was like, "Oh, well, I better remedy that."
Larry Bell is a nominee for the American Craft Beer Hall of Fame.
Oh my gosh.
Coming up
Can we talk about
coming
this
up
really
in
quick? I know this
February.
wasn't like one of the
No,
topics
totally.
that we discussed,
Totally.
but I just read about it last night.
Yeah.
And the announcement is going to happen in like an hour as of this recording or something,
It's
right? Or
February
is it-
15th.
February 15th, not January.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I don't know how calendars work.
That's
Got it.
fine.
Yeah. But the nominees are out.
Yep.
Okay, got it. So,
Yeah.
but the nominees were announced today.
Were they? It's been on. I thought it was November.
Oh man.
It's fine. It's probably fine.
Okay.
See, maybe I should have phrased
we-
this as a question. Can someone tell me about this?
We have 4 from the Northwest nominated.
There's 4 from here.
Yep. So Fred Eckhart, from the journalist in Oregon.
Oh, yeah,
He
sure.
hung out at Hair Dog all the time.
Yep.
Yeah.
Charles Finkel,
Yeah, hell yeah.
Well,
Burt
yeah.
Grant,
Yeah.
First Brew Pub,
Of course.
and Don Younger, brass
Oh,
Yeah.
nice, man.
Brass pub, horse brass.
Yeah.
There was a lot of other like great suggestions for nominees from the Northwest. Obviously, like Kempers, and there's like a few people that like you would think would be on that list. But it's great to see. It's great to see any representation.
I think Burt Grant definitely. I mean, in our circles, we hold him in very high reverence, but I don't think a lot of people who are like just sort of dabbling in the craft industry understand what a big deal that was.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And like I wouldn't even say that he's like, I mean, he's like regionally known, but nationally, probably not. Whereas somebody like Finkel, who like was responsible for actually bringing the majority of imports into the U.S.
Yeah.
RJ, your buddy Ken's on the list.
My close best friend, Ken Grossman. I kind of figured. I also kind of wish I could just see him like because like I'm sure he's like not big onto like that kind of recognition. Like he's
no doubt he's going to be in.
Well, of course he's in, but I wanted to see someone tell him that he's nominated and just kind of him sort of like withdraw a little bit.
Yeah.
I mean,
deflect
exactly. Yeah, I think deflection is the best way to put it, because like, there, in addition to everybody else that was nominated there, I mean, it's like there are so many people, especially on the West Coast, that like still to this day thank these people that put in, the blood, sweat, and tears to kind of build a foundation for what we have now. Yeah. Maytag?
Oh, yeah.
Maytag's on there?
Yep. So is Kim Jordan, Michael Jackson.
Oh, my
Sam
God.
Calagione.
Yep.
Charlie. Yeah.
Go
Heck
Charlie.
yeah. Nice.
I met Charlie for the first time when I went down to Firestone Invitational, and like he just, it was cool to talk to him, and he's so nice, but you can tell he's pretty fucking tired of like dumb nerds coming up trying to take pictures with him.
Totally.
I was like, you're really nice for doing this. Okay, Ron, you asked an important question before we took a break. Do Gen Zers think beer is cool anymore?
Do they?
That's a good question.
I read a couple articles that said they
Probably
don't.
not.
Yeah. I mean, also they have 3 or 4 jobs. They don't have time for a hangover.
That's true.
I think you're forgetting what it's like to be in your 20s.
Yeah.
I could operate pretty well off
Yeah,
of 3
totally.
hours of sleep. And like,
Fucking be puking boons on my 15-minute breaks.
I remember I woke up after a party at one friend's house. I was on one of those mattresses that fold up into the couch, so far away from the actual fold-out couch. Like it was just that thin mattress laid over a barbell and weight set. So I'm like, a cartoon like back arched over this fucking weight set, and I woke up and I'm like, oh, I have to be to work in an hour, and worked my entire shift. That's insane. Yeah. See, like
Your spine was so decompressed.
Oh my God, dude. I tell you what, man, I had to hop in my
You're
step.
like, yeah. You're like, I do that for fun now.
I'm like, I'm
So
hungover,
many
but
of those
man,
stories are from my 20s.
So many.
No.
No, it's
many
fine.
stories.
That's all right.
So
I just
separate
remember-
episode with just hangover
Yeah.
stories?
Jesus.
in our
I have
20s.
100.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, dude. Hangover special coming up.
So did they say why they thought? Or?
Well, I mean, they're mostly concerned about the climate than beer.
Good for them.
Yeah, and you don't see. I mean, think about songs and TV. You don't see a lot of drinking anymore, like there used to be.
Yeah, really. Actually,
Yeah.
it's
So-
you know what's funny is there's a punchline on a lot of things. What were you going to say there, Doug?
I was going to grab the mic here.
Do it.
Yeah, I'll grab that. So my question, you said that it's like the market is in terms of how many breweries there are. There's this adjustment that's happening. So my question is, how much is the adjustment happening in just the market, in terms of the number of breweries and things, and how much of it is the market itself changing and people's behavior changing, and what percentage of one and the other? That'd be sort of my big question.
It's a good question. I mean, it's a mix, I think, right? So but it's almost like a perfect storm kind of thing, because you do have a generation of people, like we were just joking about, like, like people who are just now drinking age don't want to hang out at breweries because that's what their parents were doing 10 years ago. But that's because that's because we were coming out of a fucking recession, and it was easy and attractive to open a new business. One of the most popular, and actually still is one of the most popular, like new business ideas is starting a brewery. And it certainly was the case when we were coming out of the financial crisis of like 2008, when everybody was like, I'm tired of being a fucking cog here. I'm going to open up a brewery in my neighborhood. And
Interest rates are so low and that sort of thing, right?
that sort of, yeah. So it was easy. There was access. There was demand, and because of that, there was also, you know, this huge influx of, again, like parents taking their kids to family-friendly community breweries that were opening, that were brand new and super cool and super interesting. The interesting thing about that is, though, there was a lot of breweries who were celebrated at that time, even though they made pretty like subprime beer.
Yeah,
Right.
marginal
So
beer.
you said kids was the number one reason. Is number two bad beer?
I would say number two is
You would
probably
think.
you would think.
You would think.
Number two is price.
Yeah.
Price, I saw more. I would,
Okay.
aside from the kids, I saw price more than anything else.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And this is actually, so this actually ties into the Gen Z thing, right? Like, most kids could not fucking afford anything.
Yes.
Ever.
Right.
Like, okay, this is like a funny comparison, but it ties in, I promise. Okay, so we're brewing a beer with Amber Pacific, who hopefully will be here to do a podcast pretty soon. This is a fantastic band that formed in Washington, huge Warped Tour alumni, like sold out shows at Showbox back in the day. This was like over 10 years ago, though. They're releasing their first album in 10 years because there's actually a resurgence in the demand for that music. And the reason that is because all of us that used to go see shows like that finally have fucking money that we can spend on going to buy music and going to shows and buy merch.
Yeah.
So like every emo band that we all listened to when we were like 17 or 18 is like touring again, but it's because have been busting our ass for 10 years. And like there's this huge gap in like in disposable income that you can spend on that shit, and that for sure affects beer. The reason that it didn't 10 years ago is because, again, we were coming out of like the 2008 financial crisis, and so the demand for that sort of thing shifted. There was this crazy dynamic change, and that obviously exists now coming out of COVID, but it's totally different. Most people cannot afford to like spend $8 a pint, so price came up a lot, and it's probably one of the things that, like, I don't know if it's cool or not, but it is just less affordable.
You're not seeing the lines out in front of brewery releases.
Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah.
So that's actually, I would actually argue that that's a separate issue.
Okay.
Yeah.
Not a price issue?
I don't necessarily think that's a price issue. I think it plays a part of it, but I actually think that that's a beer as a culture in and of itself issue. And this is like, we quote Strumke all the time. He like dropped one of the fucking craziest, you know, lines on me. We were just having a beer, and he said that beer shouldn't be a culture; it should be an accompaniment to culture. And I think that not seeing lines for beer releases in front of breweries is kind of part of that. Like that was a beer culture thing, not necessarily a price thing or whatever.
Okay.
With the price thing, though, I mean, mixed drinks are probably going to be about $8. I don't really feel like the
What? What the fuck are you drinking, Bethany? You shit me?
16?
This whole room is like, yo.
You need to tell me what happy hours you're going to. Where you're getting an $8 cocktail.
Bitch, it is
it's like
$14
way cheaper.
minimum.
I mean, I haven't ordered a mixed drink in a long time, but I feel like you still have to pay money for a mixed drink. Is
We
it that much
deduced.
cheaper? It's that much cheaper? Okay. All right.
Dude.
Yeah. Easy.
Okay,
Easy.
15 to $20 for like a decent cocktail is super
easy.
common. Here's the
That's
fucking
what
thing.
I'm saying. No, that's my point. Is that like if people are going to a bar and they're spending money and not on craft beer but on cocktails, aren't they still spending
okay,
a lot of
you're
money?
right. They are spending more money.
That's what
I thought you were saying
mean.
cocktails were $8.
No, like
I was like, what the fuck?
at least or more.
So they are,
So
yeah.
more
So they are.
people,
Beer,
the price
yeah.
thing doesn't really make sense to
Yeah.
me. Is what
So
I'm saying.
here's what this came up a ton, and like this is such a hard thing to argue against because it's difficult. It's difficult to like to demonstrate like the effects of inflation to people, but you can like go online, you can Google just inflation calculator, and you can put in a year, and you can put in, you know, the price of something, and then you can put in another year and put in the price of something, and it will tell you the inflation differential between the value of that item. So if a beer was $6 in 2017, this is not that fucking long ago. If a beer was $6 in 2017, just inflation, just keeping up with inflation, which is like relatively an inaccurate measure because it changes and there's ebbs and flows and it affects certain industries more than others. Just inflation, that beer would still be $8 today. Like just to keep up. Craft beer is actually not keeping up with standard inflation, and it's because people are like, "Fucking beer's $8 a pint. This is unachievable. I can't do this." But that is if you ordered that exact same beer in 2017 and it was $6, I don't think you would bat an eye about it. But the $8 is the exact same amount as it is now. But it doesn't feel that way because everything else is more expensive.
And all the breweries are dealing with inflation in terms of cost of goods,
Totally, dude.
materials to make beers. So even though the cost of a pint just on its own is like keeping up with inflation, we're also seeing raw goods are seeing a lot more inflation.
Way more than
Which means that their margins are slimmer than ever.
Cost of living goes up, so you have to pay your employees more.
Fuel.
Yeah.
Everything.
Should pay your
everything,
employees more.
right?
Yeah.
So I hate to be the party pooper, but were you going to read some of these comments from some of these things? Because we're
Oh,
really.
look at Doug's keeping us on track.
I mean, we're almost at fuck up. We're a minute away from fuck up.
No, I think let's.
Can we just have 2 episodes? I mean, geez.
I know we might.
In general, right?
So I mean, I don't want to just read comments verbatim. I'll just say that like these are some of the ones that came up. There was again, a lot of people complaining about kids, a lot of people complaining about price, a lot of people complaining about consolidation of brands, like the person that thinks that 60% of breweries are owned by the big 3 or whatever. All of those things, the last one's not really a factor, but the kids at breweries is a factor. Price for sure is a factor, but it's also important to just there's no small craft beer brewery owner who's fucking fleecing you for an extra $1 a pint. I promise.
Yeah.
These people are just trying to make it. Seriously. And I work for a distributor, and our costs are are not fixed, but our margins are fixed, because if we tell one of our breweries that we want to make a little bit of extra money to cover whatever price increase, it's really tough to do that, because we also want to keep beer affordable and approachable for people. But breweries are way more susceptible to the cost of raw goods inflation, labor inflation.
Yeah, I mean, the brewers underpaid.
Yeah,
brewers are underpaid, dude.
absolutely.
It's really easy to read stories about Elysian and we'll give you $400 million for blah blah blah, but most brewers are fucking underpaid.
So there's turnover, and then the beer's changing constantly.
Yeah, totally.
Every other comment, it seems like I read, was saying they're hopped out.
Okay, this is a good one actually. The influx of IPAs, or the saturation of IPAs. That was actually that was for sure. Maybe in the top 5 kind of.
Easily.
But on that Vice thread, there was a lot of people who brought that up. One of the most liked comments was I want to see more porters and stouts. Which is I love that. I fucking more Baltic porters, dude.
On that.
Hell yeah.
I mean, we are seeing that, right? It's going that.
So I feel like we are too, right?
But on a place that has 5 taps or 6 taps, 3 of them are IPAs.
Nobody has 5 or 6 taps. Everyone has too many.
Yeah. I would definitely agree with that.
From the line cleaner.
Okay, 8 or 10. Bars that have 8 or 10.
Yeah.
Well, here's the thing: is when you're looking at the national draft sales, 45% of every single draft pint sold is an IPA. But we get into the chicken and the egg thing. Are people ordering it because it's a majority of what's available, or are people just meeting demand?
Some people order it because it's the highest alcohol thing on the table.
Oh yeah,
That's for sure.
We
true.
can name a couple breweries that kind of just were zombified and basically just continued
So if
strictly.
people want to
with
go out and
double
get
IPA.
zombified, that's their option.
They go to 7-Eleven and get a 19.2.
That's true. That's what Gen Z's doing, baby.
Steel Reserve.
Voodoo Ranger.
No, I mean the
Regional too. So I mean, obviously IPAs are king in the PNW, the West Coast, whatever. I mean, all places. But do you find that maybe the IPA fatigue is not necessarily the IPA fatigue isn't everywhere, right? It might be more regional,
So
depending on where you are.
We were talking about TikTok content.
Yeah.
One of the funniest, but also most widely shared and engaged with beer TikToks in the last 6 months was a girl going I fucking hate IPAs, and a million people were like, oh my god, me
girl,
too.
I feel you.
Here's the thing: is I am pretty sure. I'm pretty. I would bet money Hawk to a girl hates IPAs.
Yeah, totally.
But some people think craft beer is IPA.
Okay, so this is interesting. Is I actually think that's like that's like it's like the same thing as like going to a zoo and thinking that the hippos just sleep all the time. Like you're on the outside and you're looking in and this is mostly what you see. It's like there's definitely other stuff, but you kind of have to be here to sort of see that like, dude, I mean, Threshold Brewing is doing a Baltic Porter Invitational like next week, like featuring 10 different Baltic Porters from around the Northwest.
Saturday's the day.
Yeah. So like there's like if you come in, you'll see that like there's more pills. We just did a Pilsner episode. There's more unique, interesting, traditional, and contemporary beer styles available than ever before, probably.
Right.
Yeah.
But when you're on the outside looking in, it's really easy to be like, "Fuck, I don't care about this. It's all IPAs."
That was a real complaint 10 years ago. I mean,
Dude,
genuine.
totally. Yeah. I mean, I would still say it's a legitimate complaint, but like RJ said, like. You can't really fault the industry for trying to like appeal to market demand.
Right.
Again, brewers are underpaid. Owners probably don't cut a salary from most of the breweries, right? Like these motherfuckers want to keep the lights on. And if every data point says that 30 to 40% of people are ordering IPAs this much of the time, then 3 or 4 of their 10 taps are going to be IPAs because they need to match market demand. For sure.
People want different IPAs all the time. Like it went from this flagship thing where you had your golden or blonde and your porter and your Hefeweizen, and then you had maybe a pale ale and like one IPA and maybe a stout. Oh, and an amber for sure. Like you had your flagships, and then it was like, actually, we all want IPAs, so yeah, you're gonna brew all IPAs. Then it's like, ooh, flagships are done. It was when I was at Pacific, it was like, no more flagships.
The crappy thing about that is like in your exact scenario, all of the beers that aren't IPAs are going to take twice as long to sell as the IPAs.
Right.
Like, so if you're a business owner, if you are purposely making shit that takes twice as long to sell through, you're not doing business very well. That's really tough to balance. But then obviously the conundrum is that you get people who are like, well, you're only making IPAs.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I'm making this other shit and it sits.
And
come buy it.
Right. And IPAs are like, I think arguably when you're like the top of your craft beer journey, you go from the Hefeweizen kind of gateway or porters that are very not heavily hopped. And then you want more and more hops. And so the IPAs are like those aren't the gateway beers for anybody like trying to get into craft beer. So
somebody compared,
makes sense.
Somebody compared the hopping to like how hot are your wings? Like, come on, how fucking hot can you eat?
I think that was a part of like the
IBU wars.
Yeah,
the
IBU wars
yeah.
back in the day. It was like all of a sudden our palates are developed to not be as sensitive to bitterness because we're just bombarding our taste buds with the bitterness. And so trying to shift back to this, actually it was, this is funny because I was talking to a friend of ours who you'll know exactly who I was talking about, where she said that carrots taste like dirt. And I said, carrots are very sweet. Do you think they taste like dirt to you because you eat a ton of candy? And she goes, no. Maybe. Our palates shift depending on, we become more sensitive.
How they're acclimated.
100% our palate changes. And if you take a break from alcohol or from beer, and then you go and you have an IPA, you're like, holy shit, that's hoppy. That's so bitter.
Yeah,
like when you take
salt.
a break and
if
you come
cook
back.
at home and don't use a bunch of salt and go to a restaurant, you're like,
Sweetness
it's
too.
almost hot.
Yeah. Word.
Sweetness too.
Side note, do you guys listen to the Ologies podcast? Because everybody should. It's awesome.
I haven't
and
listened
there's
to it
one
in a
on
while,
taste
though.
that I just listened to about this.
I'll have to
how
go back
our
to it. I
tastes,
love that.
Like,
Oh, cool.
What's the name of the host again?
Ali Ward.
Yeah, Ali
That's
Ward.
right.
Shout out.
Yeah.
Dude, I'm
writing it down.
Like, actually, Tristan has let me borrow a bunch of books on the science of taste, and there's a few ology episodes I think on this, but they're like it's like one of the most interesting fucking things is how your brain creates flavors and stuff. It's so cool.
Yeah, that could be a whole nother podcast. We can do like the power of suggestion on.
Oh, you're going to be on it?
Hell yeah.
I'm coming back for my 5-timers prize.
Yeah.
He's going to host
Whatever that
He's going to
may
host
be.
it.
Yeah.
We'll be the guests.
I want all you guys to sit there silently while I eat different cheeses.
This could go on a long time.
It sounds like a perfect evening. Oh my God.
All right, Grit and Grainers.
Wait, are we past fuck ups?
Oh, we can.
I'm so sorry, Doug.
Also,
I mean, I do have.
If you have one,
I do have a quick fuck up.
I'm sorry.
Now it's time for
It's not all right.
a fuck up story.
Yeah.
Are we doing a second episode? Can I say one more thing?
Yeah.
I got invited to Drunk Herstory. And
Yes.
Yeah, I was going to try to talk
Yes.
about it. Yeah, so March 13th. I don't think tickets are
Where's it at
available
now?
yet. It's Stoop in Capitol Hill.
Hell yeah.
Yeah,
I am
so
so
I'm
glad
really
they're
stoked.
continuing to do that.
Yeah.
after the closing
Congratulations. That's
hours.
amazing.
So yeah, me and Stacy.
We'll be there.
Are
Yeah,
employed.
that's
We'll be
awesome.
there.
We'll be there to cheer you on.
Yay! Go. Go.
Oh yeah, sorry, fuck up story.
All right, Grit and Grainers. I'm Sean Jackson, and I fuck up all the God-blessed time, as we all do. So, please do regale us with your fuck-up stories.
I'll make it really quick. So this was at one of our Sierra Nevada's national sales conference. We get all the salespeople to come in, and we all meet up. We kind of talk about the plans for the year. We do all this stuff, but it's our entire sales force, a lot of our production team, our marketing team. It's a great opportunity for us to get face to face, and obviously all the Grossmans are there. So we're having like kind of our second night happy hour. We got to try like a lot of R&D stuff. And so I'm kind of like, I had a few beers. I was feeling a little happy.
Word.
Great to see everybody in person. That always makes me happy too.
Weird.
And I look across the floor, like the banquet hall, and I see Ken Grossman and my buddy Terrell Lowe. Terrell Lowe, shout out to Terrell, was our 9th sales hire. He's been with the company for over 25 years. The coolest, like smartest guy. He's in our QA department now. Was on even our latest run of billboards. Terrell got a billboard. Love the guy.
That's awesome.
But Terrell and Ken are having a talk. And I was like, oh my God, this is the perfect opportunity. So I grabbed my phone. I didn't even ask what they were doing. I was like, guys, I need a selfie. And I like throw myself between the two of them. And I take a selfie. And I was like, thanks. And I kind of walk off. Terrell texts me the next morning. He's like, how you feeling, buddy? And I was like, good. And he goes, you interrupted like a really important conversation. Like I was trying to have a one-on-one with Ken. Oh, no. And I was like, oh my God, dude, I am so sorry. I was so excited to see you guys that I just wanted to get a picture. And he's like, okay, but I wanted to talk to Ken about like really important stuff. He wouldn't drop it, and he knew that I felt so
You were
bad
going to
about it.
fucking tighten up about it?
He sends me this picture once every 6 months just to remind me.
Now he's just fucking.
Yeah, now he's just fucking with me. But I still feel guilt about it.
Totally.
Like even though like Terrell's over it, Ken probably doesn't even recall the moment. No. But he still brings it up to me like every opportunity he can. He's like, hey, remember when you interrupted this super important conversation?
I have like secondhand anxiety about this right now.
It's fine. I'll show you. You guys, here's what I will tell you. I love this fucking picture. It is like maybe one of the best, like my favorite picture that I've got on my phone. I'll show it to you guys. Because I earned it. I got shit for it, but I'm gonna get it blown up and framed now. It's the
Give
best.
it back to him.
Send it,
Yeah.
Send it to him.
Yeah.
It's going on your jacket.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, exactly. All right, Grit and Grainers and Ken and Terrell. Email us at cheers@gritandgrainpodcast.com with your comments, opinions, and better yet, take that negative piece of news and flip it over like it is one of those cute old novelty pens with the naked woman on it. As you watch the black bathing suit slide down and reveal the naked truth of the silliness of it all, then pen the Grit and Grain a note. We read and drink everything we receive and try to respond as fast as we can. If not online, then on air. You can subscribe to Grit and Grain on YouTube, Apple Music, Spotify, Google Play, iHeartRadio, and Stitcher. And please leave us a review. Also check us out on Channel 253, Douglas. And gritandgrainpodcast.com. Be sure to follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube for episode notes, beer news, and moments of gratitude because it's a brutally fast-paced, Facebooked hypertext drunk world, and it's ridiculously easy to take it all for granted, to sit there and just type your message on your glorious little device and attach a video and send it halfway around the world as you sip your Baltic Porter that came from 4,500 miles away, and think of nothing. Not think about it, not at all. I just made that part up. When in fact there are roughly 253 astonishing miracles banging around your life right now. This second, if you just were able to realize their wobbly gifts. What a thing. If this podcast is not what you expected, please alter your expectations. In the spirit of NA beers, I'm looking to launch an NA glue. The non-adhesive Elmer's Undo glue that looks and feels like ordinary white glue, but there's no adhesive properties. Is no such thing as a bad time to visit Tacoma?
No.
No such thing as too much barley wine? Woo! Tune in next Friday for more sweet chatter. Cheers.
Cheers.
That one is all over the place.
Thanks again for tuning in. Don't forget to follow us at Grit and Grain Podcast wherever you get your social media and catch new episodes every Friday. Cheers.
Channel 253 is member supported. I'm producer Doug Mackey, and I hope you will show your support by going to channel253.com/membership and join. Thank you. Grit and Grain is part of the Channel 253 podcast network. Check out our other shows: Nerd Farmer, Interchangeable White Ladies, Move to Tacoma, Crossing Division, Citizen Tacoma, What Say You, We Are Tacoma, Flounders B Team, and Taco Man.
This is Channel 253.
Get up.